Alrighty, good morning, West Coast, and good afternoon to you, East Coasters. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. My name is Persephone. I'm the webinar coordinator here at Tenuity, and I will be your host for today's webinar. Today we'll be covering, it's our third day of our Q4 Amazon Advertising and Operations Summit, and we have the pleasure of having Ecom Engine cover our first session, How Feedback and Reviews Can Boost Holiday Sales. All right, before we dive into our first presentation of the day, I did want to go ahead and review a few event logistics. All right, so for those of you being introduced to us for the first time, welcome, and thank you for joining us. I hope to see you attend more of our hosted events in the future. The platform we're using today is GoToWebinar, so go ahead and please submit any questions that you might have in the chat box to the right, and I'll be sure to add this to the queue of questions for our speaker at the end. Also, there's plenty of resources available for you to download, so feel free to take a look at these. And if you're having any trouble accessing these features, go ahead and let me know, and I'll troubleshoot the issue in the back end. And lastly, this webinar is being recorded for you to reference and share with your colleagues later this week, so keep an eye out in your inbox for those by tomorrow morning. Alrighty, and a little bit about Tenuity for those of you just being introduced to us for the first time. Tenuity is a performance and data-driven marketing leader focused on every aspect of the customer journey across the quadropoly of Google, Facebook, Amazon, and beyond. You may have heard of us previously as Elite SEM or one of our recent acquisitions, including CPC Strategy, Email Aptitude, or Orion CKB. However, in May, we rebranded and under one name deliver the best results by bringing experts together to create an integrated media strategy, powered by people and driven by data and insights. Alrighty, and then we have the pleasure of having Liz Thickinger as our first speaker for today. Liz is committed to providing valuable information to Amazon sellers through blog posts and informational webinars. Liz is the affiliate ambassador engaging with customers and strategic partners to build relationships between Ecom Engine and the Ecom Engine industry.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Persephone. That's a great introduction. I think we're going to start with a little poll. Yes, so we're going to be talking about Q4 today, like Tenuity's been doing for the past 3 days. So when do you start prepping for Q4? Is it in August or earlier, in September, or in October or later? That'll help us get an idea of how to help you.
Yeah, I just launched this poll, so everyone feel free to vote. Let us know. I'll go ahead and share those results out loud, and then Liz can let us know what you think about those. All right, and it looks like almost everyone's voted, so huge thank you to those that participated. I'm going to close the poll and share those results out loud. So for those of you, when do you start prepping for Q4? It looks like 61% of you said in August or earlier, 39% said in September, and it looks like nobody voted for October or later.
That's good. That's really good news. Well, so it is August, and it's early August, so this is a great time to be having these conversations with sellers and a great time to sort of get our strategies together for how we're going to tackle Q4. So I guess we're going to get started with our agenda. As Persephone said, I'm the industry liaison here at Ecom Engine. I do webinars, I do events, I try to do blog posts and get information to you guys on social and all that kind of stuff. I have a couple of my favorite topics that I like to talk about, and I'll be tackling some of those today, but we're generally going to talk about your seller reputation, feedback and reviews, and how they impact or can impact your Q4 sales. So seller feedback, it's important to seller health, the impact on the buy box, why it's still important, and then we'll get into how to get more feedback and how to manage negative feedback, which is a real hot topic with a lot of people I talk to. And then we'll jump into product reviews, which is always a hot topic, and why they're crucial for good sales. And then we'll get into how to get more verified purchase reviews, how to manage negative product reviews, and I'll probably talk about Amazon's terms of service in regards to email templates. And we do have compliance checklists and all kinds of resources we're going to be sharing with you. So that's a lot to cover. And I think we should get started. All right, feedback and reviews, how they impact your sales on Amazon. we are starting with a quote from our founder, Jay Lagarde. I'm not going to read this to you. You guys are going to get this deck after the fact. But what Jay is saying basically is that the holiday season means that there are more shoppers on the Amazon marketplace and more opportunities for your products to be seen and purchased. So not only do your listings and your images need to be optimized, but you need to proactively manage your seller reputation to make sure your feedback and product reviews are working for you instead of against you, because they can. So this is an interesting statistic. Your seller ranking can drop when your feedback is below 96%. In an upcoming blog post that we're going to have on the Ecom Engine blog, Liz Adamson gives us some great insight on how your seller feedback can impact your sales and seller reputation. And she says something to the effect that Amazon doesn't spell this out anywhere, but there's a correlation between how you show up in organic search and your feedback rating. And an Amazon insider told her that the threshold is about 96 or 97%. So below that, your ranking starts to take a hit and will continue to drop as your feedback drops. So if you've been on the Amazon marketplace for a long time and your feedback's awesome, that's great, but keep in mind that as sales increase and you're getting more orders, you need to really stay on top of your seller reputation, because a drop in your feedback can hurt you with more than just your seller reputation. So seller feedback is a metric that rolls up into your greater account health. The healthier your account, the more you can focus on the busy holiday season. If your seller health drops, you can lose privileges and even lose your account. That type of complication can ruin more than just Q4. Negative feedback is a metric that's included in the order defect rate. So along with your A to C guarantee claims and your chargeback claims, negative feedback is one of those metrics that rolls up into the ODR. And then there's the return to satisfaction rate. So if your order defect rate is part of your overall customer service experience, note that the return to satisfaction rate also rolls up into your overall customer service performance. And the ease of returns is one area related to customer feedback. So, and late response is also a metric on your return to satisfaction rate. So all of these things kind of touch feedback in ways that aren't explicitly explained, but it's important to note that all of those buckets, and we'll get into those in a second, all those buckets that inform your seller feedback roll up into these two metrics that are pretty important to your seller health. So one of the metrics is response time, and sellers who respond to messages within 24 hours receive 50% less negative feedback on problem orders. We've seen that over all of these years that we've been in business. We've had Feedback 5 on the market for over 10 years, and we've noticed that sellers who are really, really responsive to buyer questions and buyer complaints get less negative feedback. I mean, just kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So, and even Amazon points out that that their research shows that orders with messages responded to, so I mean, this is a stat actually from Amazon. So this counts for returns, product questions, any reason why a buyer might contact you. It's important to respond ideally sooner than 24 hours, as fast as you can. And that keeps your negative feedback rating down. Amazon is customer obsessed. They say that all the time. Jeff Bezos says it all the time, and you need to be too. So what causes negative feedback? If you look at Seller Central and you look at the ways to avoid negative feedback, you get an idea of the areas that inform your seller feedback. Because as you know, your seller feedback is different from your customer reviews. Reviews are about your product. Seller feedback is about you as a seller, your performance as a seller. So stock outs, late shipments, complicated returns, not as described, wrong size or item, the product quality and packaging specifically, and customer service issues are all part of your seller feedback rating. And the best way to avoid negative feedback is to avoid problems that can lead to negative feedback. So tackling these types of issues ahead of time is the smartest way to avoid negative feedback. And I can actually make sure we link to the area in Seller Central that has that, but it's the how do I improve my feedback? It's that part. You can just search it in the seller, but we'll get it to you. These things also roll up into your order defect and return to satisfaction rate and reflect what Amazon thinks is important in terms of your seller performance. So again, it's not about your products, it's about how you're performing as a seller. So how do you get more feedback? How do you get more positive feedback? Obviously with feedback 5, we recommend that you ask for feedback on your orders, and you need to ask politely and in a terms of service compliant way, and I'll get into that in a little while. Also, we see a lot of bad feedback because of packaging. So that's something that you can control. Even if you're selling FBA, you can control the packaging that you're sending into FBA. And there's no reason to get bad feedback just because of your packaging. I actually ordered hot sauce one time and everything was broken. So I had this soggy hot sauce, spicy, don't touch your eyes kind of situation. And it was all about the packaging. So also stockouts. If you can't fulfill an order, then obviously you're not going to get good feedback on that order. And find a way to wow your buyers. Amazon says that happy customers don't leave feedback. And they do in Seller Central say that you can ask once for feedback. So again, there are terms of service you have to follow on that. But if you can wow your buyer with great service and have super fast responses and offer terms of service compliant, cool extras, great information, that kind of stuff, obviously nothing that's against terms of service, you're more likely to get positive feedback. And also feedback impacts the buy box. And that's where 83% of Amazon sales happen in Q4. Well, actually all year long. And even more than 83% when people are shopping on mobile, and more people are shopping on mobile every year. And if you're not in the buy box, your chances of making a sale are pretty slim. So let's talk about how feedback impacts the buy box. That's going to be relevant for some of you and not relevant for others. The way the buy box works is this: to be eligible, you have to be a professional seller who meets certain requirements. Your order defect rate, which is your feedback at work, your performance metrics, customer service quality, the length of time you've been selling on Amazon. So if you sell FBA, you'll get approved for the buy box faster when you're a new seller. And if you're selling a common ASIN as another seller for the same price, and you have better feedback and other metrics, you'll win the buy box most of the time. If you win the buy box, you'll have more sales. Tenuity, as CPC strategy, actually said Amazon generates over 150 billion sales every year. Of those conversions, over 90% occur using Amazon's buy box. I mean, that's just crazy. So, and when your product loses the buy box, sponsored products ads stop. So it's important to keep the buy box when you can, and keeping your feedback really, really up there is a great way to do that. We have seen some evidence that your most recent seller feedback will have the greatest effect on your ability to win the buy box. So it's not necessarily, you can't necessarily rely on all of your entire history of positive feedback. In situations where you're pretty much neck and neck with another seller for the buy box, meaning you've both been selling for a similar amount of time, you both have the high feedback ratings, and your ASINs are priced the same, the seller with the most recent positive feedbacks might win the buy box over the seller without recent positive feedbacks. So that's interesting, and incentive for you to try to make sure you're being proactive about your seller reputation, not just product reviews, but your feedback too. Another thing to think about and hurts your feedback is, like I mentioned before, running out of stock. We've got this quote from Shar Anderson, who runs the Wholesale Sourcing Experts group. She's super knowledgeable and a great person. But we're actually talking with FeedVisor next week about inventory management, because that's a huge, huge topic for Q4 too. So feedback and product reviews aren't the only thing that impact your Q4 sales, as you've learned over the last couple of days. And you have so much to think about during the holiday season. There's no reason that your seller reputation should mess things up for you. So that's why I'm here today to talk to you about that. And sorry about that. We've got a couple other, Liz Adamson, Wes Grutzian, talking about positive feedback and how you can manage that. So you guys will see that when you get the slides. So let's talk about asking for feedback, because it's different than asking for product reviews. And I think you guys probably know that, but you need to understand the rules. Amazon says send the buyer no more than one polite request for feedback after the shipment has been received. And also somewhere else says contact buyers with no more than one polite request to remove the feedback after resolving the problem. You can't offer incentives, you can't offer discounts in exchange for positive feedback or the removal of negative feedback. And they tell you to refer to the prohibited seller activities and actions for more information. There are these certain pages on Seller Central that I tell sellers to bookmark all the time because they're the hot spots of information when it comes to your seller reputation. You don't really have a clear, concise packaged place in Seller Central where it says, okay, here are the do's and don'ts. The do's and don'ts are kind of spread out over different places. So you have to keep up to, that's your job, to keep up to date on that kind of stuff. When you're composing your feedback requests, keep the rules at the forefront to make sure you're not including any language that's going to be triggering the buyer-seller messaging policy bots, because they're there now. Amazon's using machine learning to look at buyer-seller messaging, and they're flagging certain keywords and certain combinations of words. So it is important to follow the rules, understand the rules, follow them. And I talk about that all the time. I do say that you should create an awesome subject line if you're asking for feedback or reviews. You can't get either if nobody opens your email. And then in your email, you need to provide an easy way for the buyer to leave feedback, include an image of the product so they remember what they bought from you, and offer any tips on unboxing. Any value you can add to your email that's TOS compliant will help not only communicate who you are as a brand, who you are as a seller, help win the trust of your buyer, and hopefully bring back return business. Rachel Hoover, who is an awesome, she does account reviews and account optimizations with Feedback 5, and she has really dug in. She understands the rules, and she watches accounts, and she looks at what's working and what's not. She says to encourage buyers to click on your email and open it, your subject line will need to stand out from the dozens of other emails crowding their inboxes every day. We love Rachel. She's just awesome. And she and several other members of our team can actually help you craft your subject line so that you can get better conversions. And we do have a way that you can A/B test subject lines. So there's no reason for your subject line to keep people from reading your email. So negative feedback, it happens. What do you do about it? The faster you respond to it, like I said before, the better chance. So the faster you respond, the better chance you have of not getting the negative feedback to begin with. And then also, if you get negative feedback, the faster you respond to it, the better chance you're going to have of getting it removed or changed. So getting alerts when you receive negative or neutral feedback is a really good way to stay on top of things, and that helps you respond to the buyer's complaint faster, resolve the problem faster, and create a situation where you can ask the buyer to remove or change the feedback once the problem is resolved. You can ask buyers to remove or change feedback. You can't ask them to change or remove product reviews. That's strictly against the rules. It's a whole different animal. We'll talk about that in a second, but you can actually ask for removal or for them to change it. So take advantage of that, because that can help you keep your feedback rating where it needs to be. So now that we've talked about feedback, we're gonna get into product reviews, which is one of my favorite things ever to talk about. So Spiegel research in 2017 said nearly 95% of shoppers read online reviews before making a purchase. I would venture to say that in 2019, that number is higher. And product reviews on Amazon are important to your product ranking, your visibility, and ultimately your sales. And buyers do read reviews and are more likely to buy when you have good reviews. Now, there is a way to manage your negative reviews so that you have a better appearance on the Amazon Marketplace, but ultimately the name of the game is positive product reviews. And when your sales volume increases, that's a great opportunity for you to increase the number of product reviews you're getting. So we're going to talk about some strategies around that and what to do when you receive negative product reviews. So talking about why reviews are important, I think this is probably a review for everybody who's watching this webinar. They help increase the A9 search rank. They help measure satisfaction. They help you identify opportunities to improve your product. So and I can give you some examples if needed during the Q&A, but I have a lot of people in the seller community who have said that they have made massive product improvements. They've identified safety issues. They've identified bundling opportunities, all by just paying close attention to their product reviews. And they're super important to Amazon because they help buyers make decisions on what products are good and which ones aren't. And Amazon obviously over the years has done a whole lot to make sure the product review space is clean and up to date. We'll talk about that in a second too. And also product reviews can impact your advertising options. I mean, not all of them, but there is like a little, if you look at this, hopefully it's not too blurry. Obviously in Q4, you're going to amp up your advertising on Amazon. And there's this part in advertising section of Seller Central where you can include your star rating on some of your ads, but you have to have a certain amount of positive reviews. You have to have more positive reviews in order to enable that on your ads. So what it says, it's section 2.4.2 in the advertising section of Seller Central. And it says ads can only include Amazon star ratings. So obviously you can't do third-party ratings. And to include a star rating, the product must have at least 15 customer reviews, a minimum star average of 3.5. And then for automotive campaigns only, they can allow a star rating based on at least 8 customer reviews and a minimum star rating of 4. But that's just for one category. So the name of the game there to include those stars on your ads is 3.5 at least, and at least 15 customer reviews. And if it's a brand new product, that's really hard, right? So let's talk about how to get more reviews. There is the Amazon Early Reviewer Program. That was introduced during what I call ReviewGate, which was October 2016. Amazon did away with incentivized reviews, and I'm sure you guys remember that, but it used to be that you could send a deeply discounted or free product to someone and they could review it and say, I received this product, you know, this is my honest review. And there were companies based on this. There were groups and Facebook groups. And Amazon said, nope, it's getting manipulated too much. We're not going to do it anymore. And what they did was they introduced the Early Reviewer Program. And then I'll go. I think I'm going to go into the Early Reviewer Program. I've heard mixed messages on it, but generally I think it's a good idea for most people. We also recommend that you ask for reviews. Again, there are a huge amount of well, not a huge amount, but there's very specific rules that you need to follow when you ask for reviews, and I'll get into that and we can help you with that. And then in that message, make it easy for the buyer to leave a review, include an image of the product so they remember what they bought. Some people do a lot of shopping on Amazon like every day, so it's important to be clear about what you're asking, and include CTA buttons that link directly to the review. And ask for them smartly. Write a good subject line, write a good email. Don't try to break the rules ever. I ask you not to. So generally, we see people who use the Early Reviewer Program, which you have to be brand registered for, and it costs $60 in ASIN. But I've talked to a lot of sellers who said that it really did give them a little boost. I've talked to some sellers that said, ain't nothing so far, but they were only in it for a month or so. It's worth doing, especially for new items that you're launching. But in terms of asking for reviews, always go through buyer seller messaging. Obviously, I think you should use Feedback 5, but it helps to use an automation tool, because then you can get, you can just, well, with us, you have a contact. You've got somebody that can keep you in line and make sure that you're not breaking the rules. And I'm not going to go into a whole TOS, but you can ask me questions during the Q&A about that. So let's talk about when you get negative reviews, because that's coming up a lot. First, you need to resolve the problem. The bummer about negative reviews is that you can't ever ask anybody to change or remove their review. You can learn from the problem. You can learn inventory, product quality issues. You can monitor your product reviews, learn from them. But unfortunately, if you get a bad one and it's legit, it's pretty much impossible to get rid of. And then even if you get one that's not totally legit, if it doesn't violate community guidelines, you're probably going to have to jump through some hoops. But we do have some tips on that too on our blog, and you can always contact me. You can, however, respond to a negative product review in line on the product page. I think you should probably respond to all the reviews you get, because that shows that you're paying attention. It shows that you're customer service focused. It shows that you care about the people who are shopping on your store. But you should especially respond to negative reviews, because that's pretty much your only line of defense. So if someone leaves a negative review and you say, I'm so sorry you had that experience, you sort of explain what happens, and the next person who comes along who's reading the reviews sees that you've responded, and that makes you look better. It's not a huge consolation. I know it would be better if you just didn't have the negative reviews, but you do. So do the best you can and leave a polite, well-worded explanation of the problem, how you solved it, and all that kind of stuff, so that your future buyers can see that you're proactive. And there's a picture here that shows you what that looks like. Our friend Arena says about Q4, this is the busiest time for many retailers, and she's got some nice things to say about Feedback 5 and all that kind of stuff, but you guys can take a look at that when you get the deck later. I did say I would say a little bit about TOS compliance. Reviews are super important to the Amazon Marketplace. They provide a forum for positive or negative feedback about a product. But the TOS, the terms of service, are hugely important, and there's been an uptick in sellers who've been suspended for reviews abuse in the last few months, because Amazon is trying to figure out how to weed out the bad actors. Or trying to eliminate black hat tactics, and in some cases, sellers who aren't really doing anything knowingly wrong are getting penalized, because they might have outdated language in their template. They might not be up on TOS and what it means. They don't really understand the spirit of Amazon's terms of service. So it's really important to sort of dig in. And we actually have some resources around that. We've got a feedback compliance checklist and a product review compliance checklist. So if you're composing those messages and you wonder if you're doing something that's against the rules, you can use these checklists. They're free. That will keep you out of trouble. And we do update them as TOS changes, as it will, which is why you should bookmark those pages in Seller Central today. So we do have some free tools and templates on our tools page. I think it's just ecomengine.com, but use this bit.ly. You can get there. We've got spreadsheet templates for things. We've got review guides, everything you want to know about feedback, product reviews, how they impact the buy box, how they impact Prime Day, how they impact Q4. Email templates to keep you out of trouble, compliance checklists, and all that kind of stuff. So I encourage you to take a look, go there, and all that stuff's free. We just want you to be successful, and we want your seller reputation to be awesome. So Persephone, I feel like I've been talking nonstop. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes. So I have been queuing up some questions from our audience in the back end. So let's go ahead and get started with that.
Awesome.
First question is from Dean. With regards to the 96% feedback affecting ranking, is this in terms of the lifetime percentage?
I think so. So if you've got a lot of really great feedback historically, because I mean, Amazon does measure it, you know, your lifetime feedback. So I think it's your lifetime rather than your 365. I'll double check with Liz though, and if it's the Dean I think, just email me and if it's not, then I'll tell Persephone and she'll tell everybody else.
Thank you. Let's see, this next question is from Gustavo. How does Amazon rank the order of the reviews that are shown, and how can we as sellers manage them?
Well, that's a great question. Unfortunately, only Amazon knows the answer to that. People can downvote and upvote reviews, and that sort of changed the math on how reviews appear on a listing. If people upvote it, then the one that's upvoted the most is the most helpful. So I don't know that we have a lot of control over that as sellers, and you definitely shouldn't upvote and downvote yourself, because that can get you into big, big trouble. That's a new cause for suspension that's happening. So it should be in order of like when the review was actually left, but now there's different math to it because of the upvoting and the downvoting.
Got it. Thanks, Liz. Let's see. This next question is from Dean also. You mentioned a way of A/B testing. I have feedback 5, but haven't seen this option. Can you point it to me, please?
Absolutely, and definitely schedule an optimization session. Franz, Rachel, or Liza can help, or I can help. But basically, what you do is you set up 2 different campaigns in Feedback 5 with 2 different templates, and the only thing different is the subject lines. And then on the main campaigns page, and then you send one campaign to orders ending in one number. I can go into it later, but there's an easy way to do it, and then you can see right on the campaigns page which has the best open rate, and then you can start A/B testing other things like how do you, whether or not you should use the product image with a description, and you can start A/B testing other stuff once you get your awesome subject line in place. So just schedule something with the optimization team, or you can email me, liz@ecomengine.com, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Got it. Thanks, Liz. Let's see. This next question is a follow-up from Gustavo to his previous question, how to make the 5-star reviews show up before the lower star reviews.
You can't actually control that as a seller. You can hope that people upvote the more positive reviews, but you can't manipulate that in any way. And I really warn you not to manipulate upvoting or downvoting. If you are getting negative reviews and you don't feel like they're legit, you can open a case with Amazon. You might not get a response right away, but you'll get a case opened and likely the first time you're going to get somebody that says that doesn't violate our community guidelines, so we're not going to take it away. But if you suspect that a competitor is leaving you bad reviews, or you suspect that they're actually leaving a review on an ASIN that's not the ASIN that is yours, there are things you can do. And you can also get a professional involved if you're not getting anywhere with your cases at Amazon. But in terms of how your reviews show up on a listing, I don't think there's any way that you can personally configure that.
Got it. Thank you, Liz. This is a question that seems it's been asked a couple times from multiple people in the audience, so I'm just going to bundle this. What are some of the automated tools used to generate or request feedback? Is there a third party or software that you would recommend for product reviews?
Well, sure. I would recommend Feedback 5. There are reasons that there are third-party tools that will let you automate your feedback requests and product review requests. So answer number 1, yes. There is software out there that you can use to do that. And that's a lot easier than doing it in Seller Central. Even though buyer-seller messaging is a little better than it used to be, it's still not like the slickest email system ever, right? I do think that Feedback 5 is the best tool in the market. I am biased, but we've been around for a really, really long time. So we've watched the trends in what works to get feedback. We've seen all the changes that have happened with Amazon and with sellers, and we've been able to respond to that. So we've got some tips and some techniques that are related to the time that we've been in the business and the length of time we've been paying attention to buyer seller messaging and trends and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would recommend that you use Feedback 5 for that.
Thank you, Liz. Let's see, it looks like we do have a little bit more time, so I'll go ahead and just run through these few other questions. This one's from Rebecca. Is it acceptable to offer other product recommendations in response to a neutral or negative review?
Amazon says that you're not allowed to include any promotional language or images or links. I mean, no links at all, actually, but you're not allowed to be promotional in your communications with buyers. I don't recommend that you respond in line to a product review and promote another product. Not only do I suspect that's against terms of service, I also think it's kind of bad business, because your point there is to kind of respond to the negative review, respond to the problem with the solution, and not be like, well, buy this instead. There are situations where you can, I have all these tips in the world on how you can promote your Amazon storefront on different marketplaces. But in terms of a negative review, you really need to think about why you got that negative review and respond to that. Don't see that as an opportunity to upsell, because Amazon wouldn't like that.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's see, a few more questions here. If I have a lot of positive feedback, do I need to keep asking for feedback, or can I pivot and ask for positive reviews?
That's a great question. If you've got a whole lot of you've got a great lifetime of positive feedback, you're at 100%, you're at 99%, and you're not actively competing for the buy box on an ASIN, I would recommend that you go ahead and pivot and ask for product reviews. If you are competing for the buy box, though, I would keep trying to get feedback on that ASIN, because that can help you in a competitive way.
Got it, thank you. And then this is a follow-up question to that. How can I make sure my product review requests get opened by my buyers?
Well, subject line basically is the answer to that. There are a couple of things that I usually get asked during a session like this, and one is about buyer opt-out. So in 2017, Amazon started letting shoppers opt out of non-critical emails. And obviously a product review request is not a critical email. I mean, it's critical to you, but it's not critical to your shopper. So buyer opt-out is a thing. And so fewer of your orders are actually getting your emails because they've decided they don't want to get your emails. That's a good thing, I think, because you don't want to send an email to someone who doesn't want to get it. They could leave you spite reviews. I've seen that happen. When it first rolled out, you could put important in brackets in the subject line, and there were sellers manipulating that and sending their product review requests with that like bracketed term in their subject line. And people left them terrible reviews because they could, and because they had specifically told Amazon, no, I don't want to get those types of emails, and they got them anyway. So I think that, and we haven't seen a big decrease in the amount of product reviews people are getting, and we've actually seen an increase in open rates since opt-out happened. So the biggest thing you can do to get your emails opened is to make sure your subject line is absolutely perfect for your brand, for your product, and we can help you with that. But also, like, do some reading up and sort of understand who your customers are, understand your segment, your little corner of Amazon, and that will help you make a subject line, and test up the subject lines too. But your subject line is the gateway to your review, because if nobody opens your email, then they're not going to click on your link.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there, Liz. Let's see, this question is from Dean. He's saying, I've been selling private label products on Amazon in California for about 2 years with decent sales volume. We are the only seller, we're only selling one ASIN, excuse me. Performance metrics are good, yet we still don't have the buy box. Do you have any idea why this might be?
Do you have good feedback?
Let's see, if you followed up with that, I said I have a product with over 600 reviews, 5 stars, and he also states a competitor copied for the most part my own listing, including almost identical title and keyword content to sell their own private label product. And with no reviews, they are ranked a lot higher organically than my products.
Are they winning the buy box?
Let's see what Dan says. If he...
So in answer to the original question, that's weird, and you should be winning the buy box. So I think that probably you need some help looking into that. If someone has completely copied your ASIN and they've done anything shady, you can report them. Email me, liz@ecomengine.com, and I'll point you at somebody that can help you.
Awesome, thanks, Liz. And then probably just one last question before we come to a close here. What do I do if I think another seller is manipulating product reviews?
Report them. But be careful, because there's the little boy who cried wolf syndrome at Amazon right now. But if Amazon is actively encouraging buyers, sellers, vendors, anybody who happens to look at Amazon to report bad actors, there's a lot of really shady stuff going on right now. There are a lot of people talking about black hat tactics. There's a lot of bad stuff going on, and Amazon's trying to crack down on it. So what I would do is collect the evidence. Usually the people that are doing that kind of stuff are leaving a pretty good trail. I did have one guy who said that he got a negative review on an item that was clearly shipped to his competitor's mailing address. So, I mean, that's pretty compelling evidence that that's manipulation, and you can send that to Amazon. Make sure you've got your case all together, you're concise with your communication, and don't jump the gun. So get your evidence together and then report them. And depending on the response you get, escalate. If you don't have to escalate, that's great. But there are also professionals in the industry that we can recommend that can help you with those types of complaints to Amazon.
Great. Thank you so much, Liz. That's all the questions that we have right now. Huge thank you to you for taking the time to join us today. Always a pleasure having you join our webinars.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to join your webinars.
Thank you. However, before we did end our first session of the day, don't go anywhere. We do have 2 more sessions from Payability and Avalara, so go ahead and stay tuned. We will be back in about 20 minutes. So go ahead and hold, and we'll be right back. Thanks, everyone.